Good afternoon. As we convene this public hearing, I should like to read an opening statement. This hearing is being convened in accordance with the appropriate provisions of the New York State Public Health Law. It is being convened by the Adirondack Appalachian Regional Emergency Medical Services Council. The council is also referred to by the acronym ARMS and will be so designated today. My name is Phil Malidi. I'm the ARMS Secretary. Our Chairman, Thomas Pasquarelli, and our Vice Chairman, Sidney Chase, are also present. I almost said almost present. They're also present. Other members present include Kenneth Kurt, our staff member Jill Dunham, Elizabeth McGowan, Ryan Hanel, Nick Brent. On December 19, 2019, ARMS received a C1 application from the New York Safety Tract, which seeks to establish an ambulance service with primary operating territory to be solely on tract property. On January the 16th, 2020, ARMS ruled that the application was complete and has also been found so by the Department of Health, which has issued an affirmative ruling as to fitness and competency. Legal notices, as required by the Public Health Law, were published in the Gloversville Leader-Herald, the Daily Gazette of Schenectady, and the Oneonta Star, as per the established ARMS policy for such places of publication. The publications took place on both February 6th and 7th, 2020. The legal notice reads as follows, and I quote, "This notice is being published in accordance with the requirements of Section 3008 of the Public Health Law. The Adirondack Appalachian Regional Emergency Medical Services Council has received an application from the New York Safety Tract in Davenport, New York, stating their desire to begin an ambulance service with their primary operating territory to be solely on their property. They are requesting a certificate of need process in order to establish that need exists for this service. A copy of this application is available for inspection at the Regional Counsel's office at 2920 State Route 30, Speculator, New York, during regular business hours. The Regional Counsel is charged with the responsibility of determining whether there exists public need to approve this application. Public need may be defined as the demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or inadequate level of care in ambulance or emergency medical service available to a geographical area which is not readily correctable through the reallocation or improvement of existing resources. Written comments on this matter may be sent to the Regional Counsel at 2920 State Route 30, Speculator, New York, 12164, and should be received no later than February the 11th, 2020. A regional public hearing on this matter will be held at the Holiday Inn, 308 North Comrie Avenue, Johnstown, New York, 12095, on February 13th, 2020, at 1:30 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide a technical review and objective evaluation of the applicant's statement of need, as well as to hear any testimony presented. All who wish to comment on this matter are invited to attend and will be given an opportunity to speak. A certified mailing with return receipt requested was also made on January 23rd to all ambulance agencies, all hospital facilities, and all municipalities in Delaware County, also as required by law. The letter reads as follows. Dear Sir or Madam, this letter is being written in compliance with the requirements of Section 3008 of the Public Health Law. We wish to advise you that this council has received an application from the New York Safety Tract in Davenport, New York, seeking to establish an ambulance service with their primary operating territory to be solely on the property of the tract. A copy of this application is available for inspection at the Regional Counsel's office in Speculator, New York, during regular business hours. The Regional Counsel is charged with the responsibility of determining whether there exists public need for this service. Public need may be defined as, quote, the demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or an inadequate level of care in ambulance or emergency medical service available to a geographical area which is not readily correctable through the reallocation or improvement of existing resources, close quote. Written comments on this matter may be sent to the letterhead address and should be postmarked no later than February the 9th, 2020. A regional public hearing on this matter will be held at the Holiday Inn on Route 38 in Johnstown on February the 13th, 2020 at 1:30 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide a technical review and objective evaluation of the applicant's statement of need, as well as to hear any testimony presented. All who wish to comment on this matter are invited to attend and will be given an opportunity to speak. A final vote of this council on this matter has been scheduled for the regular ARMS meeting of February the 20th, 2020, at 1300 hours, 1 p.m. at this location. The purpose of this hearing is to provide a technical review and objective evaluation of the applicant's statement of need, as well as to hear from any who wish to comment on the issue. And I would now like to turn this hearing over to our hearing officer for the afternoon, Lee Burns.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is a public hearing for the New York Safety Track application for determination of need for a new operating authority for an ambulance service as required by Article 30 of the New York State Public Health Law. The purpose of today's hearing, as Phil just said, is to provide a technical review and objective evaluation of the applicant's statement of need, as well as to hear testimony. During the hearing, the committee of the REMSCO may hear witnesses, receive written statements, ask questions, accept testimony in any form that will lend credibility to the hearing and the REMSCO determination. Article 30, Section 3003, Sub 5 of Public Health Law states the REMSCO shall have the responsibility to make determination of public need for the establishment of additional emergency medical services and ambulance service, and to make the determination of public need as provided by Section 3008. Phil read the definition of need. Does anyone wish to present on behalf of the New York Safety Track?
I do.
Come on up.
Would you like me to stand?
Come right up to the podium, please. And just identify yourself for the record for the transcriptions, please.
Yes. Into this?
You're good where you are.
Perfect, thank you. I'm Greg Lubinitsky, and I built and I own New York Safety Track. I'm going to be very, very brief. I really want to thank you guys for being here. I really want to thank you for taking the application into consideration. And over the last 7 years, we've grown tremendously. And every year we get bigger and we get safer. But there is actually one thing every season that we encounter, and it's a problem with the ambulance. Currently, there's only one operator in 3 counties. That's Delaware, Otsego, and Chenango. Those 3 counties encompass 3,300 square miles. There's over 155,000 people there. Our facility, we have maybe up to 500 people on any given weekend. Now, I'm a little bit lost. The point of our application is essentially to do just that, to not take away resources from the 155,000 people that are already in the counties, but to provide a service, quick and reliable service to the people and members of our facility at only our facility. So that's essentially as simple and straightforward as it gets. So that's about it.
Thank you.
That's it. Are there any questions or anything?
Anyone else wish to speak?
I just have a question. Thomas Pascarelli. Have you tried to contract with any service, any particular service to provide that for your track?
You mean ambulance coverage?
Correct.
Yes, for past 6 seasons before this last one, we contracted with CMT.
And you're not able to find somebody for now the 7th season?
This has to do with the question of reliability. And so no, we were not able to find somebody reliable for the 7th season.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Could I interpose for just one moment and let the record show that Margaret Wilson, a member of the Regional Council, a voting member, is also present. I don't believe I mentioned her name earlier when I was recounting who was here. I'm sorry.
Okay. So thank you.
anybody wish to speak on behalf of New York Safety Track? Anybody wish to speak in opposition of New York Safety Track? State your name. You're mic'd.
My name is William Beavers. Beavers is B as in boy, E-E, V as in Victor, E-R-S. And I'm employed by American Medical Response, or AMR Ambulance. I come before you today to speak in opposition to the CON application for the New York Safety Track. The New York Safety Track is located in Delaware County, the town of Davenport, where AMR has primary operating authority. Prior to the acquisition of CMT Ambulance by AMR, CMT did provide ambulance coverage at the New York Safety Track for the first 6 years. After the acquisition of CMT, AMR attempted to enter into an agreement with the Safety Track to continue that coverage. Phil so eloquently explained need. The lack of an agreement on financial terms does not meet or constitute need by definition. The applicant states that coverage for his events cannot be provided by an outside agency due to stress on the system. The nice thing about these events is they are scheduled, pre-planned, and AMR is capable of providing the necessary coverage for these events. AMR possesses the resources to dedicate to the track. Good pre-planning helps with the ability to provide this care. AMR provides standby event coverage in this region and others at many events, such as the Baseball Hall of Fame induction, Unadilla Raceway, fairs, and many other events. What really the applicant has stated there's only one agency, one ambulance agency for 3 counties, when in fact there are 50 transporting agencies in those 3 counties. AMR does not solely have the responsibility for all EMS in those 3 counties. I would point out that the application shows 1 EMT on the roster. The applicant has submitted an application of want, not an application for need. Thank you.
Would you like to?
Yes, can I go up there?
Sure.
Please.
So 2 things in response to that. First off, you stated that we couldn't agree to financial means. That's not accurate. We could afford just about anything. But the problem is the reliability that we've experienced the past 6 seasons, and we've continuously had problems. Because one ambulance leaves, they say we'll be back in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, okay, that's fine. But hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, that's not acceptable. We can't wait that long. So that's a need, that's not a want. Second thing, in regards to EMTs, right now we have 1 person, that's correct. We typically hire 2 people. Ideally, I'd like to hire 4 people. And that way, I'll never have a loss of time. Because I have 1 ambulance now, and if I can get a 2nd ambulance, that would be even better. Then we have non-stop events. So God forbid, something happens, I have a transport, 2 people go, 1 ambulance stays, they come back, God forbid another incident happens, that ambulance goes, 1 ambulance stays, we can continuously run the event. And we don't have to pull your ambulances out from wherever you guys are. Because there were instances this year, many instances, where I said, listen, we really need an ambulance right now. Okay, our closest ambulance is an hour away. And we had to transport people ourselves. Not using an ambulance, but in somebody's pickup truck. Just sitting there. Because you guys weren't there. And that's why we need this certificate. Should I stay? Should I go?
Any further comments? comments?
What I would say is that AMR is not CMT. AMR possesses resources well beyond what CMT possessed. We are the largest provider of ambulance services in the country. These events are pre-planned. When you're talking about not being able to get an ambulance because you called and wanted it immediately is not, it's an apples and oranges comparison. Calling and taking a truck off of the road for an event is not the comparison to having somebody at the event. If you want 2 ambulances on your facility, you contract for 2 ambulances.
Why would I need to contract you if I can do it myself? As I said, 6 seasons, we've constantly had issues, not only with dispatch, but with members of CMT. And yes, you picked up all the CMT staff for AMR. And you have a few new ones. I know them. How many ambulances do you have currently at the facility in Cooperstown?
Again,
I'm just asking the question.
this is, I don't believe where I answer your question.
Right, so you have 3,300 square miles. What do you have, 5, 6 ambulances? Maybe, let's say 10 ambulances. 10 ambulances. For 330 square miles, you have 1 ambulance.
So, just to bring this back, this AMR is not at issue. The issue is, does New York Safety Track need an additional ambulance? Just to remind you, while you discussed 150,000 people in 3 rural counties in the center of New York State, there are other ambulance services responding to EMS calls in those areas. So that, just again, from your perspective, not what AMR's operation is, you need to, it's incumbent upon you to prove that there is a need for an additional ambulance
I'll
service.
give you an example on that. So there are different EMS providers, and I contacted every single one of them. They can't give me an ambulance for a day. That was the biggest issue too. So AMR was the only person that I could contract. But I had such a bad experience with over those past 6 seasons that I knew that not only could I hire the staff that I need and train them to do what I want, motorcycles, car incidents, everything associated with the track, because there are a ton of incidences that occur. And even though BLS, ALS are trained in certain aspects, we really need people who are highly focused on motorsports other than anything else. And so when I reached out to all these companies, no one was able to give me an ambulance. And so this is why I would rather, I need to have one and just really occupy just the facility, just my facility, just so I don't put strain on anybody else. Because this season, each time we had an incident, the first responders from Margaretville would attend. And then what I would call AMR, they wouldn't have an ambulance. They would call AMR, and then eventually kind of we'd get an ambulance. But you put strain on the system. I know they have other things to attend to, and I really don't feel comfortable doing that, especially in a rural county.
Any other comments?
Do you know approximately how many incidents you had per season?
Really varies, little by little, you know, kind of we're getting safer and safer. In the beginning, it was terrible, you know. Last season, we had our first ever airlift, you know, and that's 7 seasons of operation. And thank God, fingers crossed, we really try to keep it safe. But you never know what can happen.
So my follow-up to that, how many of those incidents were unanswered or get a delayed care?
Delayed care.
Or you had to wait for an ambulance or transport yourself or whatever?
This year, it was every instance. But well, I'll give you another example. We actually had AMR at the facility during one of our events this year because one of the companies actually requested that they have a transport ambulance on site. And their ambulance broke down, and we had an incident, and they couldn't even pull the ambulance out because the belt was broken. So they're like, we have some guy with a broken shoulder on turn 12, and they have a broken ambulance. So it really didn't look good for anybody in that particular instance. So what we'd like to do is immediately have people who are trained in that particular field of motorsports get to them, assess the situation, and make the proper decision.
Can you do that without an ambulance?
Can I do what with that ambulance?
Can you get to that patient, assess the scene, initiate care without providing an ambulance service?
No. What if there's a serious incident that they need to be transported immediately? Like this one particular instance from this year, which I wrote about in the application. This guy was on a scooter, and crashed face first into the asphalt. Had a hematoma the size of 4 golf balls. And we had to wait. We had to wait and wait and wait, and we couldn't wait anymore, so we put him in the pickup truck, and one of my coaches drove him to the hospital.
Are you looking to provide ALS service or BLS service?
BLS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak in favor of the application? Anyone wish to speak in opposition of the application? Anybody wish to comment? And I guess we're closing the hearing.
We can adjourn the hearing at 13:54, 1:54 p.m.
We are off the record.